Hello, I am Transcending Thoughts, and I will be reading some more poems from my hashtag VSS and hashtag poems, a collection. Just a disclaimer, when I created this collection, I took the deepest thoughts that I had, the ones that really stuck with me, being in a dark place and struggling with myself at the time, and what I was going through, struggling with what I had been through. And well, it's quarantine, so I'm very, very bored. And you know what? I'm just gonna read some more of my poetry. Fuck it. This is the collection. I'm really not sure how, it's about God, how many pages was it when I printed it? I think it was about 40 something pages, which is, I guess, a lot. I mean, it's probably not that much, honestly, when we compare it to other people's writing, but you know what? That's not why you're here, if you're here at all. Okay. So this first one is called Evaporate. Her mind was active, surrounded by thoughts of doubt and destruction. She imagined what it would be like to evaporate. Unaware of herself trying to hold on for one more breath, she surrounded herself in darkness. So darkness she became. Oh man, there's so many moments when this poem applies, at least for me. It's funny. I even want to evaporate in public, so I don't know. This one is called Anna, and I'm sure we already know who Anna is, but if you don't, Anna is anorexia, and I don't know why I'm saying that with such a positive context. Meeting Anna, getting to know Anna, and being friendly with Anna, especially with how close I am to her, it's not a good thing. It's a very mentally abusive relationship, and you just don't realize it, but this is called Anna. My throat still burns as it tells me not to talk. I can feel the acid burning from the first forced time in a while. My stomach is crying for food, but my mind holds other plans. Wow. So it's really self-explanatory, I've always felt that, especially for women, even though we live in a society now where there are so many strong women who fight back against this stereotype, there's a very strong stereotype that women and men have to adhere to or feel they should adhere to. They don't have to adhere to it, but they feel like they should, women, sorry, computer. You either feel like you need to have a Gigi Hadid, Bella Hadid body or a Kim Kardashian body, or, when you're neither, you're kind of in between. And I don't know, it holds for a lot of problems. So you get introduced to Anna because you see, especially if you want to be like Gigi and Bella, you see just how thin you have to be. And Anna becomes a very big part in your life. She becomes pretty much your best friend. But if you struggle with an eating disorder, definitely, I know it's hard, but talk to people. There's always someone who will listen, even if it's not necessarily your parents. Someone out there will listen. I promise you that. This one is called Quivering. I just sat there quivering. I was my only comfort as salty tears streamed down my cheeks. They tasted like a sadness I was familiar with. Alone, locked in my own room, I dreamed of teleporting elsewhere. But when I opened my eyes, nothing had changed. I just sat there, quivering. This one was written when I was just... I'm a person who is learning to become it's interesting, like my life. I was a person who was very comfortable within themselves. I was very proud of who I was. And something, I mean, even though it was very, very hard, my struggle to even get there, once I became that way, you know, I look back and I remembered not how weak I was, because I don't think that I was weak. I think that I just didn't understand like what was within me, the strength that I had within me. And I reflected back to the times that I felt weaker. And most of the time I was quivering. I was afraid. I was holding myself back. And, you know, that's something that I definitely still do to this day to a certain degree. Like I hold myself back, but it's not as severe as it was in the past, which every day you get stronger, especially as you grow older. But so facade is my next one. Facade is a very interesting title that I just thought of for this. Sitting on the other side of the door, her voice is like nails on a chalkboard. I'm trying to drown out her facade. Thankfully, I'm a writer. So I really like this one because it's saying that someone else has a facade that they want to unravel you in, or not unravel, but like they want you to become a part of that facade. And for me, even though I am definitely a part of that facade, I'm a writer, and I write down everything, and I write down the truth, my truth, for the most part. And, you know, I just kind of, I guess this is me making a note that, you know, to be wary of the facade that someone else wants me to be in. You know, that's important. You need to know that you're in a facade to properly work that facade. You know, if you can get yourself out of the situation, hey, you know, like, power to you, but not all of us are so lucky. I'm a huge mental health advocate. Struggling with mental health myself on a daily basis. I don't know how to explain it, but I very much support anyone who is going through any kind of mental health issue, whether it's small or large, you know, to whatever degree it is. You know, we are all human and we all go through things. We all have these struggles, and I always want people to, I mean, you know, if they know me, when they know me, I want them to know that they can turn to me for these things, because I've definitely, I have my fair share of demons. And even though I'm very close with them and I talk to them on a daily basis and I'm a little too chummy with them, I remember what it was like being on the opposite end of that. So, but this one is mental health. The fan whirled above her, scrambling her volatile thoughts of self-hatred. The voices in her head became so loud, she wondered how the whole house didn't hear them. But then she remembered, she is always her own worst enemy. So, in terms of mental health, I think that I don't like how society oh man, I could go into a whole rant right now, but I feel like I should dedicate a whole section called Chats with Kat about it or something, because oh my God, the way that society portrays mental health issues really irritates me to an nth degree. There's nothing wrong with you if you have mental health issues. Don't let anybody tell you that, because I get told that stuff every single day I get told that shit every single day, literally. There's nothing wrong with you. It means that you're okay and you're normal. You know, there are some mental health issues that are by biology and are like programmed in the brain, and you know, it's hard. Any kind of mental health issue is hard. I'm not trying to say like certain ones are harder than others, and oh God, I feel like that's like, I hope no one's like interpreting as that, because that's really not what I'm talking about. But I'm just saying that having mental health issues is very difficult, but the way that society negatively stigmatizes you makes that 10 times harder to deal with. And, you know, again, there is support and there are people who will listen, and, you know, whether it's professional help or if you don't, you know, I think, someone important, it's like someone I care about texted me. But I definitely think, I had to deal with this stuff myself. I was turned down by every single counselor that I had ever been through. Anyway, but I was turned down by every single counselor that I was dealing with because they told me that my problems they couldn't handle my problems, which is funny because that's kind of their job, but whatever. So I had to tackle my own mental health issues by myself. And like I said, like now I'm very chummy with my mental health problems and I'm very aware. That was a whole process though. It was very draining and oh man. Anyway, this next one I was inspired when me and my man were in the car, and I don't know, like the car came a little too close and I was a little afraid. So I kind of quickly jotted this down. It's called Crash. The car inched closer to where she was. For a moment, her life played before her, but was staring back at her hauntingly in the window before it all came to a crash. So I got really scared because I saw a vision of us just like crashing happened in my head. It was really scary. It was very vivid. And, the way that the other car was driving, if we kept alongside of it, we would have gotten in a crash. And as we pulled up later, turns out he had actually gotten in a crash. Like, I don't know, it was like some Final Destination shit, but I don't know. I'm glad that it appeared to me in a vision. This one is called Fragmented. For a moment, she looked at herself as she was and could not escape the vortex of self-loathing. There was no mirror. There was only a reflection of a fragmented memory of who she used to be. So this was based off of like mirrors. I don't know if this is getting dark for you guys, but I don't know, sorry. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, okay. Okay. So this is based off of mirrors, and I believe that mirrors are portals. They're portals into another dimension, and when I look in the mirror, I'm not looking back at the me that's here. I'm looking back at the me in the other dimension. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I'm a little far-fetched with some of my ideas. But, I mean, I can, again, like, if you guys want me to go into, like, anything or discuss anything that you see in this video, like, comment down below and I'll make a video on it because I'm bored and I'm either writing, I'm sleeping, or... yeah, okay, that's my life. Anyway, so this next one is called Wonder. There are just times that I just randomly write shit, and this is one of those times. I was kind of like waiting in the car for someone, and I don't know, I was smoking a cigarette and I was watching the smoke rise. So here we go. She watched the smoke rise slowly towards the light, wondering why everything was drawn towards the light. A sort of spectacle that she was jealous of. She thrives in darkness, but always wondered who she could become if she were to embrace the light. It's interesting because it's like, within all of us, I believe there's, oh my God, I feel like this is like a Star Wars reference, but it's not. There's the light side and the dark side, and I very much relate to my dark side. I understand it, I get it, I'm one with it. But there's also this part of me where it's like I have this natural, I don't know, it's like, it's different. I have this pure white natural light that exists within me, like purity, like, I don't know, it's not purity, but whatever. But it's like that. And I don't know, you battle it a lot of the time because it's like, I want to live in the light, but I'm so stuck in the dark, damn it. And like, oh, I just want to get the fuck out, but I can't. Ugh, bad language, sorry. This one is called Dwindle. The blood soaked through the sand. Her memories, like a film, flashed before her eyes. She tried to move, but she was paralyzed by her fear, being unable to reach for her life as it dwindled from her grasp. So this is a really cool story. I was on Twitter. Yeah. Sorry, TV. I live with my parents, so yay. Anyway, back to the story. There was this really cool girl. I think her name's Anxiety Girl. She's really cool. Oh my gosh. And I don't really know what happened to her. I gotta check up on her. Gotta make sure she's okay. Anyway, She, I like writing like hashtag VSS and poems. I like doing that a lot. I just jot it down wherever. And I told everybody, I was like, challenge me, as like a joke. But she answered and she told me to write about like, oh no, she listed words. That's right. I said, list any 3 words and I'll make a short story out of it, or like a very short story out of it. And so it was blood, dwindled, and paralyzed. And that's what I came up with. I don't know. I think that's a really cool story. So this one was inspired by my man. Over the summer, I worked with him and his sister. His sister, they're so cool. Anyway, I worked with them over like at a pool in like the concession stand. And I kind of just looked at him and I don't know. I just jotted this down. It's called Elsewhere. He turned back to his phone, trying to find a way to pass the time. It slowly ticked by. With each social media post he passed, he wished he was elsewhere, working on his dreams for the future he wanted. He's a musician, and he's working on an album, and like when you're like with me, like I feel like, why am I working when I should be writing? And he feels the same way. You know what I mean? Like when you're so dedicated to your craft, it's literally what you can think. It's literally all you can think about. This one is another one. I know I have a couple other videos that I posted and I can't remember which ones I did, but I'm only going to read through like a couple of these. I'm not going to read through them all for this video. But just I know someone requested that I read can't talk, read some more of my poetry, and this is me doing that. So this one's called Routine. It's how I feel in the mornings, but I wrote this like months ago. So here we go. Morning nudges me awake. I am left with no recollection. A clean slate for me to start my day. I hate it when I can't remember my dreams. I feel like there's something I missed. Morning nudges me awake. My bladder cries for relief, staining the bowl before I organize my thoughts. My mind in a different direction. They are scrambled all the time. Morning nudges me awake as I take in most of the senses. Too much I see. Something bad I hear. Something sweet I smell. Someone I love I touch. It's too early for me. It's much too early for me. It's too much for me this early. Morning budges me awake. I am left staring at a blank page, wanting to write but unable to find the words. An idea is there somewhere. I just need the patience to find it. Morning nudges me awake, but I wish it hadn't. I don't know. I wrote this like a few months ago. Honestly, I wrote this last year. Okay. I wrote, this was a collection that I started like last year. These are actually all the ones on my Wattpad. I don't know if anyone follows my Wattpad, but if you do, I'll drop it in the description box below, or if you don't, but yeah, I don't know, like sometimes things will come to you as you like wake up, or as you start like feeling sleepy, or when you're kind of in that haze. It's just like, okay, sometimes it's like I gotta write this shit down. Let me see. I'll read a couple more and then I guess I'll stop. Oh, I'll end it with, okay, I know what I'll end it with, and then I'll go through the rest. We'll do the rest another day. God, that's a lot. I only read like, 10? I don't know. Okay. So this one is called Mirage. She fumbled around in the darkness, praying for a sign. Her hands felt nothing as she grazed the cool wooden floor. Her eyes burned from the tears and her breathing quickened. She cries in silence, not making a sound. Silence fills the room. Silent it remains for the rest of the night. She reads stories of how dawn broke curses, but she knew better than that. Her body spazzed in the darkness. It was the only way that she knew she was still a person with vital signs. When she finally closed her eyes to sleep, her world was a sad and lonely one, filled with scary uncertainty. All she could do was cry. She knew the real world wasn't meant for her. She knew the real world wasn't easy. Yet, all she knew how to do was pray. In her dreams, she cried out, "Someone, please help me." But no one came to her side. She fell to her knees and began to sob. Opening her tear-filled eyes, she saw something beneath her. It was her own reflection staring back at her. She cried more, unable to contain her desperation. And then she woke up back to reality. But what she didn't realize was, in her dreams, someone had been there all along. She just couldn't see through the darkness. So I relate, okay, honestly speaking, like when I wrote this, I related back to depression, because the way that I view, I mean, again, I should really be creating a whole video on this, but I'll tell you for a little bit right now. I see everything in my life as a play on light and dark, and I don't know, I've just always really liked that. The battle between the light and the dark within. When we feel like we're so in the dark, we can't see that we're actually not. We can't see that it's not a dark well or a dark tunnel. It's just a cloud of dark smoke. You know, we're still in the light. We're kind of just a little confused. We're not actually confused, but like I'm trying to describe it like, you know how, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just like a cloud that's like around you, and it's hazy, you know, like you're kind of lost in the haze. And that's how I felt going through what I went through. You know, I'm not saying this about everyone with depression. You know, that's not what I'm doing. Because I'm very, very supportive of anyone with any kind of mental health issues, sincerely. And it's interesting though, because at least for me, and I still struggle with it to this day, sometimes I feel like I'm so in the dark that I don't see that the light is actually in front of me, and that someone's trying to reach their hand through my darkness to say, "Come on, I'm with you." And that's what makes it a mirage. So that was the inspiration for that one. I don't have my glasses on right now, so I am technically blind, but I know that if I put on my glasses, it's gonna like lens flare and reflect and whatever. But anyway, so this one is called Relapse. Very straightforward. This is my relapse into depression, anxiety, eating disorder, and terrible lows for me in my life. I let my sadness consume me, and for a moment I get lost in the silent darkness. The days tick on, but it seems like an eternity. Where is my mind wandering to? The soft piano music plays. I feel that my life is a movie, and I am just misunderstood. It seems no matter how well I tried to blend in, I can't. Plagued by sadness, I try to hold on to what happiness I can. And for the most part, I can convince everyone around me that I'm okay. But I'll never be able to convince myself. Only one person makes me truly happy, and he is why I fight the sadness every day. Shout out to my man. It's so hard not to be besties with Anna. Even without her here, she controls so much of my life. But I think it's hard to feed the fire that ultimately brings me closer to her. Voices in my head tell me to be friends from afar. I would never let her back in my life completely, just enough so I can feel better about myself again. But would my lover leave me if I let her back in, even just a little? Unfortunately, Anna isn't so patient, and I begin this journey once again. So, dealing with an eating disorder, it's just there. I feel like I'm handcuffed to her, if that makes sense. Like there's an invisible handcuff and there's an invisible person here. You know what I mean? You know, you deal with your mental health issues for the rest of your life, and you either succumb to them or you understand them and you learn how to cope with them. You learn your strengths from understanding your issues, your monsters, your demons, your skeletons, whatever you want to call it. I genuinely believe that. It's funny. Like, it's only been a year, and these still hit hard for me, and they hit me in a different way than they did back then. And that's growth. That's growth. All right, I'll end this with this poem called The Game. I sit and wait. What for? I may never know. Patience is a virtue. And that's the first little concoction of my hashtag VSS and hashtag poems book thing collection. But, you know, and now that we're in quarantine, I feel like it's so easy to lap back into those mentalities, into our old ways. And I see myself doing that. And I guess I'm being real, and this is just my way of like telling myself that I'm okay, reminding myself, you know what I mean? Because even though I still write very dark, everything I write is dark. I'm not exactly the type of person to write uplifting stuff, but the growth that I see is in the acknowledgement that I am going through things. I am still dealing with it, and knowing that helps me deal with it a little bit better. Because sometimes not often, but sometimes I can be like, okay, that's not really me talking. Or I can convince myself or unconvince myself of certain feelings that I have. You know what I mean? If that makes any sort of sense. I don't know. Please let me know if it does. But mental health is something that I really would like to dedicate time to on my channel. It's something I would really like to talk about in Chats with Kat. That's what I'll call it. That's what I'll call the little section. If you guys have any kind of topics that you'd like to talk about, it doesn't have to be about mental health. It can be. It can be about growth. It can be about anything, really. Let me know, because I'd like to do that. I used to have a podcast called Chats with Kat, and I only had like a couple episodes out on my blog site, but my blog site hasn't been up for a while. I don't know, it's kind of funky. Wix is funky when you don't pay for it, so I don't know. I'm working on it. But I also want to share with everybody like what I've learned, you know, like guides to different things or case studies and different things, and just a couple things that I saw on my blog that I think are really beneficial. Because I technically have 3 blogs. I have one that's Transcending Thoughts, which used to be my main blog. I have Kat's Korner, which I'm pretty much going to name this video under Kat's Korner. And I guess I'll post like collections of poetry and whatnot. And Chats with Kat, which was, oh wait, no, that's a podcast that I started and stopped. God, I need to follow through on my shit, guys. It's quarantine, so I have no excuse now. And the last one is called Silence is Golden, and it talks about my life as I lived it as a mute for a little bit. People had questions, I answered the questions. I don't know, it's interesting, you know, so if you guys want, so yeah, just like drop topic discussions down below, and yeah. I don't know, but congrats, you've made it to the end of my almost half-hour long video. Wow. This is probably me just like rambling and whatnot, but that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. I used to have a Periscope, and my rants and rambles they get pretty cray sometimes. But it's okay. It's necessary. It's good. You gotta just vent it out. You know what I mean? Like that's the key. You don't hold it in. Just vent it out. Write it out. Get it out. You know, draw. Like do something. Even though we're not allowed technically out of our houses. But it's okay. We find ways to stay sane. For me, it's writing and YouTube, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really good at this. I'm brand new at it. I don't know how to edit, so none of this will be edited, which is hilarious. Until I learn how to edit, we'll see what happens. But yeah. So I'm Transcending Thoughts. Bye for now.